The reluctant ambassador, Captain Maya Chen, stared at the holographic display floating between her and Ambassador Trellix, her expression carefully neutral despite the disbelief coursing through her mind. "Excuse me, Ambassador, but I want to be absolutely certain I understand you correctly," Maya said, her voice steady from years of crisis management. "The Galactic Coalition, an alliance of 300 species spanning thousands of systems, has never developed tactical combat doctrines for ground warfare." Ambassador Trellix, a tall being with 6 limbs and iridescent skin that shifted between shades of blue and green, bobbed what Maya assumed was its head. The universal translator rendered its musical language into crisp English. "Most coalition species evolved beyond physical conflict millennia ago, Captain Chen. Our disagreements are settled through diplomatic channels and, when necessary, economic sanctions. The concept of beings physically harming one another is primitive." Maya suppressed a sigh. 6 months ago, humanity had made first contact with the Coalition when one of their survey vessels detected Earth's quantum communications network. The encounter had been peaceful, unexpectedly so for a species that had spent its entire history preparing for hostile aliens. What followed was a rapid cultural exchange and an invitation to join the largest interstellar community known to exist. What the Coalition hadn't mentioned until now was the Hive, a rapidly expanding insectoid species consuming worlds at the galaxy's edge. And they certainly hadn't mentioned their complete inability to fight them effectively. "Yet you maintain a defense force," Maya pointed out, gesturing to the holograms showing sleek Coalition vessels. "Our Defense Directorate exists primarily for rescue operations, managing spatial anomalies, and occasionally interdicting smugglers," replied Trellix. "Their ships carry defensive capabilities, of course, but they've never been designed for actual warfare," Maya finished. "And your ground forces. Security personnel are trained in non-lethal containment. Until the Hive, lethal force has never been necessary." Maya stood and paced the small conference room aboard the Coalition diplomatic vessel. Outside the viewport, Earth hung like a blue marble against the blackness of space, her homeworld, scarred by climate disasters, resource wars, and centuries of human conflict, yet still surviving. Still fighting. "This explains why High Command selected me," she said finally. "I'm not just a liaison. You want me to teach your people how to fight." "The Galactic Security Council has reviewed humanity's historical records," Trellix admitted. "Your species has developed combat methodologies of remarkable efficiency. The Hive has already consumed 14 outer colony worlds. Conventional Coalition approaches have failed. So you want the barbarians to teach you how to be barbarians," Maya said with a bitter smile. "We prefer to think of it as cultural exchange." Trellix replied, skin flushing purple, embarrassment. Maya had learned. "You possess expertise we need. In exchange, we offer Earth membership, technological advancement, and protection from the many dangers of interstellar existence." Maya's wrist communicator chimed. A message from General Santos. "HCEPTV position. Earth needs this alliance. Fuel autovoto NYGRNTD for training program. I'll need complete access to all Hive combat data," Maya said, decision made. "And I select my own students. The Council has already prepared a class of our most promising security cadets." Trellix countered. "Great. I'll take them. But I'll also need experienced field officers who've actually encountered the Hive." Trellix's skin darkened. "Very few have encountered the Hive and survived, Captain." "Then find me the ones who did," Maya replied. "And Ambassador, make sure they understand what they're signing up for. I won't be teaching them to stun and detain. I'll be teaching them to kill." 2 weeks later, Maya stood before 30 beings of wildly diverse physiologies in the command center of the Coalition Training Station Enlightenment. The massive orbital facility, usually dedicated to diplomatic protocols and spatial navigation, had been hastily repurposed for Maya's program. "My name is Captain Maya Chen," she began, surveying her class. Earth Special Tactical Division, veteran of the Pan-Asian conflict and the Atlantic Resource Wars. I've spent 20 years fighting other humans, which makes me uniquely qualified to teach you how to fight the Hive. A tall, willowy being with 4 arms raised one limb. Its skin was covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift and pulse. Commander Lyrax, Centauri Security Division, it introduced itself. With respect, Captain, why would fighting your own species qualify you to combat the Hive? They are nothing like humans. Maya nodded. Excellent question. Computer, display tactical simulation Alpha 1. The air between Maya and her students shimmered, resolving into a holographic battlefield. Coalition security forces in formation, using standardized containment protocols against a swarm of Hive soldiers. The simulation ended quickly with the Coalition forces overwhelmed. This is footage from Outpost Kalis, Maya explained. The first Coalition world to fall. Now, computer, display tactical simulation Alpha 2. A new simulation appeared, ancient human warriors using primitive weapons against a numerically superior force, employing ambush tactics, terrain advantages, and brutal close-quarters fighting. This is the Battle of Thermopylae, Earth year 480 BCE, Maya continued. 300 Spartan warriors held off a force of over 100,000 through superior tactics, training, and the willingness to do whatever was necessary to complete their mission. She gestured, and both simulations played side by side. The Hive may be physiologically different from humans, but they share one critical trait with every effective fighting force in human history. They adapt, improvise, and employ brutality without hesitation. Your coalition forces failed because they fought according to regulations designed for peacekeeping, not survival. Commander Lyrax's patterns had shifted to a deep red. You're suggesting we abandon our ethical protocols. I'm suggesting that ethical protocols that result in extinction are worthless, Maya replied evenly. The Hive doesn't care about your ethics. They care about consuming your worlds and using your resources to spawn more Hive. A smaller being near the front, with crystalline features that caught the light, spoke up. Coalition doctrine states that all sentient life must be preserved whenever possible. Are you saying we should simply exterminate the Hive? Maya recognized the being from her briefing materials. Security Director Neelix, one of the few survivors of direct Hive contact. Director Neelix, you faced them. Tell the class what happens to those captured by the Hive. Neelix's crystalline form dimmed slightly. They are consumed, dissolved while still conscious, their neural patterns absorbed into the Hive consciousness. It is not a quick process. Maya let the grim statement hang in the air before continuing. I'm not here to turn you into monsters. I'm here to ensure your species survive. Sometimes that means making impossible choices. She straightened her posture, addressing the entire class. Today, we start with the basics: tactical assessment, threat recognition, and the psychology of combat. Tomorrow, we begin weapons training. A murmur ran through the assembled beings. Is there a problem? Maya asked. A bulky, reptilian being spoke, its voice rumbling through the translator. Most of us have never used weaponry designed to terminate life, Captain. Such devices are highly regulated throughout Coalition space. Maya smiled thinly. Yes, Security Chief Frax, I'm aware of the regulations. The Galactic Security Council has granted special dispensation for this training program. Each of you will become proficient with both Coalition tech and human weapon systems. She looked across the diverse gathering of beings, seeing uncertainty, fear, and in some, a dawning realization of what they were facing. The Hive has never encountered humanity, Maya concluded. They've never faced an opponent that evolved through millennia of conflict, that developed the art of warfare to a precision science. We're going to teach you how to think like us, fight like us, and survive like us. It won't be comfortable, and it certainly won't be civilized, but I promise you this: when we're done, the Hive will regret ever entering Coalition space. As the orientation concluded, Maya watched her students file out, already noting which ones showed potential and which would resist her methods. She had 6 months to turn these peacekeepers into warriors. 6 months to prepare them for the brutality of real combat. Ambassador Trellix approached as the room emptied. "That was quite direct, Captain. Did you expect me to sugarcoat it?" Maya asked, beginning to review training schedules on her datapad. "Our species value harmony and cooperation," Trellix said. "This focus on conflict may be difficult for many to embrace." Maya looked up from her work. "Ambassador, humanity spent thousands of years trying to achieve harmony and cooperation. We've failed spectacularly, repeatedly. But we've learned one thing from all our bloodshed. When facing an enemy that wants to destroy you completely, the only harmony that matters is the harmony of survival." Trellix's skin rippled with complex patterns. "The Council has assigned me as your cultural liaison. I'm to ensure that coalition values are maintained throughout the training program." Maya laughed, a short, sharp sound. "Good luck with that, Ambassador. You wanted humans to teach your people how to fight. Well, this is what you get. The blood-soaked teachers of the galaxy. The crucible of battle." 3 months into the training program, Maya stood in the observation deck overlooking a simulated battlefield. Below, 3 teams of coalition trainees moved through the wreckage of a colony outpost, their movements precise, coordinated, and lethal. Beside her, Ambassador Trellix watched with skin fluctuating between dark blue and purple. "They're actually enjoying it," Trellix said, voice modulated to convey distress. "The Security Council reports are concerning. Aggression levels are elevating across all student metrics." Maya didn't take her eyes off the exercise. "They're not enjoying the killing, Ambassador. They're enjoying the mastery. The feeling of competence in the face of danger. It's a natural evolutionary response." On the simulated battlefield, Commander Lyrax's team encountered a hive nest. Instead of the Coalition's standard containment protocol, they deployed flash-fabricated explosives, a human innovation, then methodically eliminated the disoriented hive soldiers with targeted plasma fire. 3 months ago, that encounter would have resulted in total Coalition casualties, Maya noted. Today, 0 losses. At what cost to their psychological well-being? Trellix countered. Director Nilix has begun having night terrors. Security Chief Brax has requested isolation during rest periods. These behaviors are deeply abnormal. Maya finally turned to face the Ambassador. "They're processing trauma, Trellix. It's called combat stress. Humans have been managing it for our entire history. The Galactic Medical Council is concerned we're creating psychological damage that may never heal." "Would you prefer psychological damage or extinction?" Maya asked bluntly. "Because those are your options. The Hive doesn't offer a third choice." The conversation was interrupted by an urgent chime from Maya's communication implant. She pressed her temple to activate it. "Captain Chen, priority alert," came the voice of the station's eye. "Unidentified vessels approaching training station Enlightenment. Configuration matches Hive attack formation." Maya's combat reflexes engaged instantly. "How many?" "Time to intercept. 3 capital ships, 17 support vessels. Intercept in 22 minutes. Coalition defense vessels are responding, but estimated arrival is 43 minutes. Trellix's skin had blanched to near white. "How did they find us?" "This facility's location is classified at the highest levels." Maya was already moving toward the command console. "It doesn't matter how. What matters is that we have 22 minutes until contact and no warships for backup." She opened a station-wide channel. "This is Captain Chen. All training teams to emergency deployment stations. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. We have a live Hive incursion." She turned to Trellix. "Ambassador, initiate emergency evacuation protocols for all non-essential personnel. Then get to a shuttle." "What are you going to do?" Trellix asked, already activating emergency systems. Maya's expression hardened. "I'm going to see if my students have been paying attention." 17 minutes later, Maya stood in the main hangar bay surrounded by her 30 trainees, now dressed in coalition combat armor modified with human tactical systems. Their diverse physiologies meant that no two sets of armor looked the same, yet they all bore the same determined posture. The station's defensive systems will buy us time, but they weren't designed to repel a determined attack. Maya explained, bringing up tactical displays. The Hive wants this station intact. It's a resource to them, not just a target. They'll board with extraction teams to secure it. Standard coalition protocol would be full evacuation. Noted Security Director Neelix, crystalline features glinting under the emergency lights, which is exactly what they're expecting, Maya replied. Instead, we're going to give them something they've never encountered, a human welcome. She gestured to the tactical display. We've prepared for this scenario. Deployment Plan Omega. Teams 1 through 3 will establish perimeter defenses at these junction points. Teams 4 and 5 will protect the station's critical systems. Commander Lyrax will coordinate from the Auxiliary Command Center. Security Chief Vrax stepped forward, massive reptilian frame tense with anticipation. And you, Captain. Maya checked the charge on her modified coalition plasma rifle, now capable of delivering lethal force well beyond original specifications. I'll be leading the counterattack once they've committed their forces, she said. Remember your training. The Hive communicates through a localized field. Take out their command nodes first, the larger soldiers with the extended cranial structures. Without direction, the drones become disorganized. The station shuddered as the first Hive weapons impacted the outer shields. One more thing, Maya said, looking at each of her students. Everything we've done these past months has been preparation for this moment. You're not peacekeepers anymore. Today, you're warriors fighting for survival. Trust your training. Trust each other. As her students moved to their positions with a precision that would have been unimaginable 3 months ago, Maya felt a complex mixture of pride and regret. She had transformed these beings, changed them fundamentally. Some of that change could never be undone. The battle that followed was unlike anything the Coalition had ever experienced. The Hive breached the station at multiple points, expecting to find the usual disorganized evacuation. Instead, they encountered prepared defenses, coordinated resistance, and tactics specifically designed to exploit their weaknesses. Maya moved through the station's corridors with Team 6, the most proficient of her students. They encountered a major Hive thrust near the main reactor control room. At least 30 drones led by 2 command nodes. Suppressing fire, Pattern Delta, Maya ordered, taking cover behind a reinforced bulkhead. Vrax, Neelix, flanking maneuver on my mark. The massive reptilian and the crystalline being moved with synchronized precision, deploying mobile shield generators as they advanced along the sides of the corridor. The rest of the team laid down a pattern of overlapping fire that kept the Hive forces pinned at the junction. Mark, Maya called. Vrax and Neelix activated disruptor charges, another human innovation that sent cascading electromagnetic pulses through the Hive formation. The command nodes staggered, momentarily losing connection to their drones. In that critical window, Maya's team executed a perfect coordinated assault, taking down both command nodes with concentrated fire. The drones, suddenly directionless, broke formation and attacked individually, making them vulnerable to the coordinated defense. Across the station, similar scenes played out as Maya's students implemented the tactical doctrines she had drilled into them. Coalition beings who had never taken a life before were now fighting with the ruthless efficiency of veteran human soldiers. 3 hours after the initial breach, the surviving Hive forces retreated to their ships. Before they could regroup, Coalition defense vessels finally arrived, driving them from the system entirely. Maya stood in the shattered command center, reviewing casualty reports. 7 of her students dead, 16 injured, but the station had held. More importantly, they had inflicted catastrophic losses on the Hive force. Captain, called a voice from the doorway. Commander Lyrax entered, one arm in a makeshift sling, patterns on their skin pulsing with a combination of colors, Maya had never seen before. "Commander," Maya acknowledged, "your team performed exceptionally." "We did what you taught us," Lyrax replied. "We survived." They hesitated, then added, "I killed 17 hive drones myself. I counted them." Maya recognized the tone, the mixture of horror, pride, and confusion that came with surviving one's first true combat. She'd heard it from countless human recruits over the years. "That's normal," she said gently. "The counting. It's a way of processing what happened." "Will it always feel this way?" Lyrax asked. This hollowness mixed with exhilaration. "No," Maya answered honestly. "It changes over time, but it never completely goes away. That's the price of survival." Ambassador Trellix entered the command center, followed by several members of the Galactic Security Council who had arrived with the defense fleet. Their expressions, translated through various physiological displays, showed shock at the devastation. Captain Chen began the lead counselor, a being composed of swirling gases contained within a specialized environment suit. "We owe you and your students a great debt. This is the first significant victory against the Hive since the conflict began." Maya nodded acknowledgement but didn't smile. "It wasn't free, counselor." "Indeed not," the counselor agreed. "But the data from this engagement is invaluable. The Hive clearly did not expect this level of resistance. Their tactical patterns were disrupted in ways our analysts have never seen before." "They've never faced humans before," Maya said simply, "or those trained by humans." The counselor's gaseous form swirled more rapidly. Excitement, Maya had learned. "The council has reached a unanimous decision. Your training program is to be expanded immediately. We request that Earth send additional military instructors. Every coalition security force must be restructured according to these new methodologies." Maya looked at her surviving students, beings who had come to her as peacekeepers and would leave as warriors. The transformation was written in their postures, their movements, the way they scanned for threats, even in this supposedly secure room. "Before I agree to that," Maya said carefully, "I want guarantees for psychological support, cultural integration specialists, and human ethical advisors. What we're doing here, it changes your people fundamentally. That change needs to be managed." Ambassador Trellix moved forward, skin now a calm blue. "The Council has already approved such measures, Captain. We understand now what we've asked of you, and of ourselves." Later, as Maya stood alone in her quarters, she reviewed messages from Earth Command. They were euphoric about the victory, eager to leverage humanity's new importance in coalition affairs. More instructors were already being selected. Earth would no longer be the primitive newcomer, but a crucial ally in the fight for galactic survival. A chime announced a visitor. Security Director Nilix entered, crystalline form dimmed to a soft glow. "Director," Maya greeted, "you should be in medical getting those fractures treated." "They can wait," Nilix replied. "I wanted to ask you something away from the others." The crystalline being hesitated. "Before today, I had never taken a life. Now I have taken many. Does your species have rituals for processing this transition?" Maya thought of the countless ways humans had dealt with the psychological burden of warfare throughout history. Everything from religious ceremonies to battlefield memorials to the simple act of writing letters home. "We have many," she answered. "Different cultures handle it differently, but all of them recognize the same truth, that taking life changes you, and that change must be acknowledged." Neelix's crystalline surface rippled slightly. "Would you teach me one? A human ritual for warriors?" Maya considered for a moment, then reached into her personal storage unit and removed a small metal container. She opened it to reveal a collection of simple metal discs, dog tags from fallen comrades she had served with over the years. "In many Earth military traditions," she explained, "we remember those we've lost and acknowledge what we've done in their name." She took out a single tag and placed it in Nilix's crystalline appendage. "This was my first commanding officer. When I make difficult choices, I hold this and remember why I fight. For vengeance, Neelix asked. For protection, Maya corrected. So that others don't have to make the same sacrifices. As Neelix held the tag, a small portion of their crystalline structure shifted, creating a permanent internal pocket where the tag would always be visible within their translucent form. The Council believes we needed humans to teach us how to kill, Neelix said quietly. But perhaps what we truly needed was to learn how to carry the burden of killing. Maya nodded slowly. That, Director, is humanity's real expertise, not how to fight wars, but how to live with them. Outside the viewport, Coalition defense vessels patrolled the space around the damaged station. Beyond them, the stars continued their eternal vigil, indifferent to the struggles of the beings that lived in their light. Somewhere out there, the hive was regrouping, adapting, but for the first time, they would be doing so with the knowledge that the galaxy had found its defenders. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not as diplomats or scientists, but as what millennia of conflict had shaped them to be: teachers of survival, bearers of hard truths, and masters of the terrible art of war. The blood-soaked teachers had delivered their first lesson.